Imagine being one of the largest countries in the world and still managing to lose control of it completely. Well, that's what happened to Russian leaders in the early 1900s. The Russian Revolution was a series of events that ended centuries of monarchy and led to the rise of a new radical government. At the center of it all was Tsar Nicholas II, the last emperor of Russia. He ruled as an autocrat, meaning he had absolute power. There was little to no political freedom, and most people, especially peasants and workers, lived in poor conditions. As Russia began to modernize, more people started demanding change. They wanted better working conditions, fair wages, and a say in how the country was run. But Nicholas refused to give up power or introduce meaningful reforms, which caused frustration to grow across the country. In 1905, tensions finally exploded. Thousands of workers marched peacefully to the palace, hoping to present their demands. But unfortunately, instead of listening, the soldiers opened fire on them. This event became known as Bloody Sunday. It shocked the nation and led to widespread protests and strikes. In response, the Tsar created a parliament called the Duma. However, he still kept most of the power, so the changes didn't really solve the problem. Then, in 1914, Russia entered World War I, and things became even worse. The Russian army suffered massive casualties due to poor leadership and lack of supplies. Soldiers were often unprepared, and millions were killed or wounded. At home, food shortages worsened, prices increased rapidly, and people struggled to survive. The country was under a huge pressure, both on the battlefield and internally. Nicholas then made the decision to personally take control of the army, meaning that every military failure was now blamed directly on him. While he was away, the government was left in the hands of his wife, Tsarina Alexandra. She relied heavily on Grigory Rasputin, a mystic who seemed to relieve her son's illness. Because of this, Rasputin gained influence over political decisions. However, many people at the time believed he was corrupt, damaging the monarchy's reputation. Eventually, protests broke out once again due to food shortages. Although the government ordered soldiers to stop the protests, many of them ended up refusing and joining the people. Without military control, Nicholas had no real power left. He stepped down and ended more than 300 years of Romanov rule. After this, a new government called the Provisional Government arose, led by Alexander Kerensky. However, the Provisional Government made a big mistake. It chose to stay in World War I. The war continued to drain resources, and the people were still starving and suffering. Because of this, many began to lose trust in the new leadership. At the same time, a group called the Bolsheviks started gaining support. Led by Vladimir Lenin, they promised peace, land, and bread. In October of 1917, the Bolsheviks took action. They seized important buildings and overthrew the provisional government. This became known as the October Revolution, and it marked the start of a new communist government. Russia quickly pulled out of the war, but a new conflict began. A civil war between the Red Army, or the Bolsheviks, and the White Army. After years of fighting, the Bolsheviks won. In 1922, they formed a new nation, the Soviet Union. The Russian Revolution completely changed Russia. It ended centuries of monarchy and replaced it with a powerful new system that would shape the future. And all of it happened because the government failed to listen to its people.